Welcome to Leaders in Conversation, where we explore more human ways to work with leaders that are challenging the conventional wisdom. Although we're no longer in the industrial age, how we think about the nature of work is often still stuck in that paradigm. Being human at work is complex and challenging, but we believe it's worth the effort because it's the path to more productive and engaged and motivated people. I'm your co-host, Ken Blackwell, and this is my co-host, Amanda Cookson. Hi, Amanda. Today's session is Impact and Authenticity with Sylvie Giusto. Sylvie is a professional runner. She runs a successful speaking business. She runs after two little children. She runs stairwells of some of the highest buildings in the world, and yet she never runs out of energy or her passion for helping individuals and corporations explore the importance of their first impressions. Austrian by birth, French in her heart, Italian in her kitchen, German in her work ethic, and American by choice, join me in welcoming speaker and online shopping aficionado, Sylvie Giusto. Hey, Sylvie, welcome. Let's get started. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what happens when we first meet someone and the neuroscience behind how we judge others.
Laziness is not one of them. We kind of are opposed to you because we like to surround ourselves with people who are the same as we are. So a lot of bias is working against you afterwards. And that's why it's so difficult or more difficult to change a first impression if it's a bad one or a wrong one, rather than it's a good one, because the fantastic thing is, if it's a good one, if you imprint exactly what you would like to imprint, bias is working for you. If you want to be known as somebody who is passionate or resilient or honest, if you give them this imprint in the first seconds, bias will make sure that they find proof for this information too. So you can actually make the unfortunate thing of unconscious bias work to your advantage. That was a very long monologue, right? But now you know everything about first impressions that you need to know.
Well, I was thinking about this whole thing around first impressions. So let's take, for example, let's pick on Richard. So Richard's from York. Hello, Richard. Thanks for joining us. And he wants people to see him as having a good sense of humor, trustworthy, and professional. So this is what he's got in mind. But if you have something in mind and you're deliberately doing things, so I always think when people say, trust me, I think, why are you telling me to trust you? There must be something suspicious here. So how can you kind of manage or convey this sense of you without people thinking, Amanda seems a very sort of false sort of person. She seems to be putting on this act all the time.
Yeah. Well, first, I loved the exercise that you introduced in the beginning to choose 3 words. I'm much tougher than you are. I request from my audiences to pick only 1 word, right? So they only have to choose 1 word. And very often the first initial word that they pick is actually not what they want to be known for, because we have a tendency to pick what I call high value words, because it makes us feel better if others would perceive us that way, right? So it takes a lot of coaching and a lot of time to really find that 1 word that describes your image, that will lead into your brand, that as a result will impact your reputation. But once you have found that word that has a lot of to do with, internal self-awareness, you need to go into external self-awareness and find out, is that what people actually see in me? Or is there a gap? Do I need to adjust? And then there is a 3rd layer, because all of us are in some sort of profession, in some sort of industry, and in some sort of career path that we all hope should be successful, right? And the reality is, if you have a word like trustworthy, you are very well, or you do very well in a financial industry. Everywhere where there is money or children are involved, they are looking for trustworthy people to work with. If you are in a very creative industry like media, trust is actually not as important as some other criteria. So you need to find out what you want to be known for, how the world sees you, and what your clients or those who you serve expect from you. And somewhere in there is the truth. And then you have different ways to show that in those first milliseconds. And as you said, to walk into a room and to say to everybody, hello, I'm trustworthy, is the worst thing that you could do. You need more subtle ways to send those messages.
Fascinating. So Ken, can you indulge me just for a moment?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
I've always wanted to appear or seem rebellious.
Rebellious, and why that? Tell me more about that.
I think because when I was younger, I was kind of an anarchist and a bit of a gothy punk. And as a grown up, I kind of like the thought of being a bit of a rebel. And I do have some sort of challenging views about what leadership should be about. But when I look at me, I just think I look like a mum. So how do you look rebellious without looking like a crazy?
So here's the thing about rebellious. There are good news and bad news for you, right? Or actually just good news for you, but in general. The good news is one of the habits that successful people have that are not born into privilege, that work their ways up like we do, is to stand out. You never want to blend in. You always want to stand out, but stand out for the right reasons. And rebellious immediately has that taste of standing out. I don't want to blend in. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to be known, which is fantastic. Some people have a tendency to misinterpret rebellious by losing a sense of respect, a sense of who do I serve? Do I just stand out for the purpose of standing out and ignoring my audience, ignoring my clients, ignoring their cultural backgrounds, their generational backgrounds? Then that's the wrong way of standing out. So I encourage you to stand out and to show that rebellious woman in you, but always still in a very respectful way to those who you serve. And whatever word it is, yours or those of our fantastic guests here, you basically have 4 different ways to show that very subtle. And I call it the ABCDs. The A is through your appearance, the way you look. Like it or not, we are visual creatures. We just look at somebody and we think A or B or C or D, whatever pops up in our mind, right? And yes, that is clothing, but it first and foremost starts with the suit we are all born in, our body. What does your body say about you? Your body image. Are you tall? Are you short? Are you overweight, underweight? Do you take care of your body? Is it in shape? Do you look healthy? Your skin, right? Then hopefully you cover your body with clothes. And what do they say? The colors, the fit, the size, the patterns, the fabrics, the brands, the entire visual picture that you paint with hair, makeup, accessories, shoes, right? Thousands of visual pinpoints we send immediately. And when we think of the studies, you only have a max of 7 seconds. You can't say a lot during those 7 seconds. You don't even have the time to impress with anything else and send message other than with your visuals. Also, our brains tend to be very lazy. Brains are very lazy. They take a shortcut, and that's why we take a shortcut through our eyes and look at somebody and think, rebellious or trustworthy or creative, or, can I trust you? Will I buy from you? And, looking great is good, or looking good is great, but obviously it's not enough, because then there is the B for your behavior. At one point, your body language will kick in. How do you stand? How do you walk? How do you sit? What is your attitude? Is it positive? Is it negative? All the things that we feel. Social etiquette. Did you shake hands? Do you look into my eyes? Are you on your phones? How we interact with each other. Might just be a micro moment, but might totally impact how people think about you. Then at one point, C, communication, we're going to say something, right? It is your voice. If you want to be rebellious, what does it mean for your voice? Has it to be extra loud, extra energetic, right? The way we speak, your volume, your pace, but also how you start conversations. We know, for example, that the first 11 words of every single conversation are the most important ones. People are going to remember you for the first 11 words that you say. So when you start conversations, how do you start them? Most of us say, how are you doing? Not sure if I'm gonna, I mean, there is nothing wrong about asking somebody, how are you doing, if you're really interested in, but you know, there could be more creative way, more rebellious way to start a conversation that they might remember. And, you know, those ABCs, very common, very well known. I have added a layer though that I call the D, because I find, and today is a very good example, most often we make first impressions not in person anymore. We make them in some sort of digital way. To get into a room with team members, interview candidates, clients, often nowadays requires first a digital interaction first. Might it be via email? Might it be on social media? Might it be you Googled my name? Might it be the invites that you send out? Might it be some of you see and hear me the first time right here in a virtual environment? And this might decide if we ever meet in person or not.
Interesting.
So if we could jump back a little bit to what's going on, you know, maybe in the early B phase there, right? In the body, like how we're carrying ourselves.
Yeah.
So obviously we can make some conscious choices about what we wear, about our appearance. It's harder to have a sense of how you're communicating through your body. And we know, you know, through neuroscience, right, the rostromedial prefrontal cortex, part of our brain is going to do a friend foe very quickly, right? So we have some control over that, some not. I guess I go to what's happening inside us, what's going on in our mindset, our feelings that then, you know, comes out into the world, and how do we go to that point? Because it seems like that's what precedes all of this, is what's going on in our heads. How do we get ourselves mentally set right so that it then translates through the physical form of our body?
So two ideas for you, two exercises. The first one is, first you need to find out, what does your body say? And I myself always go through a very painful exercise. Even after years, I always threaten it. Luckily, I had a break for 1 year. Like you or like Ken and Amanda, I have the honor to often be on stage and share my messages with audiences, and I get video recorded. And if I don't get video recorded, I make sure that I record myself with a phone. The quality doesn't matter so much for this exercise, so you can use any average phone to do that. Record yourself at your next presentation, at your next team meeting, the next time you are in front of a group of people, record yourself with a video camera or your phone. And then one time, watch it without sound. Turn the sound off and only look what your body did. And you will find messages that your body sensed that you had no idea. I was horrified. I was shocked, even as a professional speaker, when I just looked at what my body speaks, what I did. And from there on, you can start working on singular points. I'm not a big fan of, you have to stand this way, or you have to point this way, or your feet have to be this way, because occasion matters. And I'm more a fan of avoid distraction for any price. And when I looked at myself on stage, I was running 7 miles in 30 minutes, right? I identified something that is very distracting to my audience members, and how can I stop that? Because I want them to focus on my message and not on my body language. The moment something stands out to them, what I did or what I were, I did something wrong. And the second exercise is just prepare yourself mentally before I go on stage. I always have kind of a habit where I zoom in that I'm here to serve the audience, where I don't talk to anybody else, where I get myself mentally ready and walk out. And I already know this is going to be fun. I am ready and they are ready. But really do that. And I forgot to mention, first time, watch the video without sound and then do the opposite. Put the body away, turn off the movie and just listen to the sound. And even then you will hear things that you said you weren't aware of, common words that you repeat, filler words and similar. You will hear how your voice sometimes, even if you have a very important message, why do you get more quiet instead of getting louder? When do you pause? So split body language and what body language speaks from what your mouth actually says.
And doing a podcast, doing this series, you find those common words that, as you're listening to yourself, particularly just in audio, you realize I say that word a lot, and having to put some consciousness to it. But it seems also, your stage process before you go out is not only looking inward, but also having a component of being outward focused, thinking about your audience and the impact you're going to have on them and how you're going to communicate with them. So in a way, getting right inside is by focusing on who you're going to interact with on the outside, it seems.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm just spying. I think it's a comment from Simone about, we're more than just our bodies and humans shouldn't make judgments. And one of the things that I'm really interested about this whole field is that quite often people aren't given an opportunity because they're not a right fit, because they're too plump to be a successful leader. I didn't get a job once because the person looked at me, looked at my CV and said, looking at you on paper, I thought you'd be taller. So, these things that have got nothing to do with our brains, our ability. So how do we break through those biases and embrace a broader spectrum of humans and give people the opportunities that they deserve because of their capability, not because of what they can afford to wear or genetically how tall, how thin, how deep their voice is?
Yeah. So let me tackle that question. Thank you very much, by the way, Simone, from two perspectives. First, I want you to recognize and really recognize I am biased. And so are you, Amanda. And so are you, Ken. And so are you, Simone. Everybody carries biases. And to a certain amount, we can manage them. And to a certain amount, we cannot. The part that you can manage, you can only manage when you recognize that you have them, right? And if in a second step you establish criteria for the situations you fear the most when those biases could kick in. So let's take an example. You are the person who looks for or interviews candidates for a new job. A situation where biases kick in quite often, as you have experienced yourself. So instead of just going into that situation and interviewing candidates and letting biases loosely take over, sit down and invest a lot of time into what exactly are the criteria I am looking for. Develop a scale how you can rate them, yes or not, or on a scale from 1 or 10 or whatever. Force yourself into a system. A system will never eliminate all biases, but it helps you to control some of them. And third, always remind yourself frequently about those biases. That's the only way. If you are on the receiving end, meaning you are in that situation and somebody has obviously prejudged you based on your size, on your height, on your weight, on your race, skin color, whatever it might be, I only have two advices for you. First, Amanda, I'm glad you are not working for that company. I'm glad you didn't get that job, because that could have just been the beginning. And even if you have gotten the job, the prejudgments that you would face later on might be more devastating. And, second, 20 years ago, probably an image consultant or a stylist would have told you, yeah, next time you're going to walk in with heels, with the goal to make you higher.
I don't wear heels because I'm a rebel and a feminist. I have an issue about heels.
Yeah. But if,
Yes,
if you don't love heels, if they don't make you feel like the superhuman that you are, then don't wear them. Don't wear them. I always say confidence is your best designer. There is no better outfit than confidence. If you are overweight and you fear bias against your weight, if you are older and you fear age bias in your organization, then first always ask, is this the right organization I want to work for, if that is really a criteria? And second, oh my God, run with it. I'm tall. Everybody would tell me not to wear high heels. I love my heels. I feel super confident. I need them when I walk out that stage. That doesn't mean that might be the right option for you, because everybody is unique and everybody is different. Pick whatever makes you feel like the superhuman you are. Just don't forget about the environment, your audience, because, well, my choices would be different if I speak to a male audience only. My choices are different if I speak to audiences with a specific cultural background, with religious belief, because I still, especially as a leader, always want to be perceived as respectful.
And this gets into, so yes, respectful. I think the struggle that many have is trying to balance authenticity, doing what I like, what I feel good about, all of that, with the other, right? The audience, the clients, and where that line is, right? The more that I respond to the context of the situation, one might think, well, the less authentic I'm being. Likewise, if I'm totally authentic, I'm potentially going to lose my audience. How do we balance these two things, right? How do we balance our authenticity and yet be respectful and cognizant of the context that we're in?
Great question. I love that. Yeah. We all have once in our life probably received or even given the advice, just be yourself. Right? Just be yourself. And in my opinion, that's actually not good advice to give or to receive. Because what I would rather want you to be, just be the best version of yourself. The best that you can give every single day. That might not always be the same from day to day, but try to give your best. Because respectful does not only mean respect to others, it first and foremost means respect to yourself, to the body that you own, to the career path that you already went, to so many things. You need to show respect to yourself before you can give respect to others. So instead of just saying, be yourself, be the best version of yourself. Try to do the best every single day. And when you walk in a room or on stage with that mindset, it changes a lot of things, because we know that best. I mean, we go out on stages, we have a room full, an audience sitting there. Some are going to love me and two are going to hate me. Some are going to be reminded of their annoying mother-in-law when they see me. And some are going to be reminded of their cute daughter when they see me. I cannot control that. But what I can control is walking out there and saying, I'm doing my best. This is all I got. This is how I prepared for you. This is me, right? And even if I break the rules, if my best is I wear a suit every day with sneakers, if that is my best version, then this is it. The best I could do for you. But I'm not walking out in sloppy flip-flops and I don't know, short pants and a t-shirt with holes, because obviously that's not the best you can do for that occasion. Occasion is key. Was I able to answer your question, Ken?
Well, yeah, and I think it also goes to context, right? And in the case of speaking, right, and you and I know, right, when we're giving a presentation to a group, they're paying us to be there. They're expecting value, right? And so there's a bit of being a servant there, right? I think the context of work, it starts to get a little muddier, right? Like, so now if I'm an employee and I'm showing up in a workplace, yes, the organization is paying me, but but the line maybe is a little different, right? In terms of how far we go that pushing that line of respect and being our best self. But I do like the advice of being our best self rather than just being yourself, right? Because I think being your best self for that group, for that situation, is truer to where we need to be. And Amanda, I'm seeing a bunch of stuff come through in chat. I don't know if you had that or whether you wanted me to grab some of those.
I did, but I just wanted to kind of just stick with that. You kind of said, be your best self. But for some people, maybe in flip-flops, shorts and a t-shirt with holes, that is absolutely their best. And the reason why I'm kind of using that as an example is that so I work a lot with digital companies who the whole thought of that kind of corporate image, with the kind of the smart, for women, pencil skirts, court shoes, blouses, men, shirts, ties, absolutely no. The antithesis of it, to the point where I think, Ken, you were telling a story, weren't you, when we were kind of preparing for talking to you about how you were kind of told if you turned up in a suit, you definitely wouldn't get the gig to work with them. So, and I also think that when I first started working, what you wore was really important. There was a uniform, and it wasn't about necessarily being your best self. It was about conformity. So if you're in an environment where it's definitely anti-corporate, it's about self-expression, what is I guess my question is, as you work with new leaders in this new space, what is your best advice that you're giving to them about how they show up?
Okay. Well, first of all, what you describe is probably, even if you're such a young lady, 20, 30 years ago, and I'm glad this is over, right? We live in a new, more colorful, more diverse world where we can all express ourselves more freely, luckily, period. So corporations, obviously, they keep up with that trend, with that process, and appreciate also a more casual work style, appearance style. The challenge is a little bit that for some people, casual means that they don't have to care. And that is wrong. Casual still means that you have to care. And over years, we have been taught how to dress professionally. I mean, every organization has some kind of dress code rule that exactly describes how a professional look looks like. But rarely are there organizations who then describe what a casual look looks like. And I have met a lot of leaders who actually were lost in that and don't know, how does that look like? Is it flip-flops? Is it shorts? Is it any t-shirt? Is it a specific t-shirt? Because we have never been taught how to dress appropriately this way. Second, I challenge you, and we also went through a pandemic, and you might have noticed that when you are at home and not surrounded by others, I mean, I loosened up a little bit, right? I thought, really, do I have to wear makeup today? And do I really wear blouse? Or how about whatever, right? Which is fine. But I had to get out of this again because it had an impact on my productivity. I just truly believe that how you carry yourself, not just with your clothing, with the entire mindset, I go to work, right? And I give my best, has also something with how you dress and how you behave and how you enter that workspace, even at home.
Hmm. Interesting. Yes, because I saw a debate about wearing shoes when you're working from home and whether people were more productive. And I feel confident in saying I could sit all day in my pajamas and slippers and do brilliant work, or wear a pair of, kind of proper clothes, and it doesn't make any difference to me on what I produce. But I guess maybe that's about, for me to do my best. It's
But yeah, and remember the one word you want to be known for. What is it, Amanda?
oh well, yes, rebellious.
Right?
So I'm quite happy in my pajamas.
You should be. If that makes you happy, you should be. We are all unique. We are all unique individuals. What is true for me must not be true for you, right?
So I think we should start
I see a note
tackling
from
some of these
Simone
questions.
that on Friday a customer said that they thought wearing a hoodie on Zoom was unprofessional. So today she went on the call wearing a hoodie. So you're not the only rebellious one out there. Simone is too. And I think, yes, it's what's happening for us, right? So as someone who has a home office myself, being able to distinguish between what's work time and what's home time for me, one of the ways I do that is by clothing, right? And, just make that change. Like this space is a workspace as opposed to a play space, right? That's outside. So having some of those distinctions just helps me, be my best because I'm focused on that at the moment. Amanda, did you have a question from chat that you were about to do that I stepped over you there?
No. I was just looking at, because I think some of the are kind of more statements rather than questions. So Claire's kind of talking about, shouldn't we be focusing much more on how we look past all of those external factors and read the people in front of us more authentically? And we did for bias and understanding what your biases are. I guess, and I don't know whether Claire would take it as literally as me, but I am also, as well as being a bit rebel, a bit hippie. And so I would love to live in a world of non-judgment, of kind of seeing the best in others, bringing out the best in others, and not being fixated by whether someone's shirt is a Ralph Lauren or has come from the co-op or Tesco or something.
Well, first of all, those judgments vary from people to people, but also from occasion to occasion. When we are in a dating situation, our brains obviously look for something else than when we are in a job interview situation, or when we are selling to somebody, or if we are sold by somebody, right? So the occasion is key. What you just mentioned, though, is you are a little bit rebellious, but also a little bit hippie. Brings me to another relevant topic. Each of us carries two image personas, at least two image personas. One we are born with that we cannot change, and one that might change throughout our life, depending on our age, our experiences, our career path, or the occasion. So what does that mean? So people who usually put words into the chat that are somehow around trustworthy or reliable more high value words are in a category that I call traditional, right? They have very traditional values, while people who put words into the chat like I want to be adventurous, rebellious, or I want to be, or are usually more casual, are what I call the explorers. And when you are an explorer, you can never be a traditionalist. And if you're a traditionalist, you can never be an explorer because you are just born with it. The traditionalist says, a suit to work, why not? What's the problem? The explorer says, a suit to work sounds like a horrible idea because I don't like to be put into a suit. I like it wide and comfortable and big. And if I go into their wardrobes, everything is brown and beige and earth tones and stretchy and oversized and comfortable. That's just their nature, right? And so they struggle with the suit, while the traditionalist doesn't struggle. And I could go on with behaviors and communication styles. The traditionalist has a LinkedIn profile since 3 years, and everything is documented there as it's supposed to be. The explorer things, a LinkedIn profile, yeah, I think I signed up years ago, but who knows what is on there, right? So they all have different appearance styles, behaviors, communication styles. And then you combine it with one out of 4 others. One is, for example, the caregiver, the person who is always focused on helping others. They choose words like, I want to be caring, supportive, helpful, always outward focused. Very often women are in this category because we are used to taking care of everybody else first, our families, our jobs, our teams, our friends, our parents, everybody, before we take care of ourselves. And so you combine 2 of those, and this gives you the opportunity that if you go into a very traditional environment, you just pull up the traditional list a little bit more. If you are in an environment with your families and friends, you probably show the other one a little bit more. If you want to find out which of those categories are true for you, what is your image persona, there is a quiz on my website. I think Ken will be so.
I just put that in just now. So
my website /quiz. It's for free. Don't worry at all. Answer a few questions, and the result is kind of a self-awareness, an internal self-awareness perspective, what you think you would like to be known for, but also an external mirror if that is really the category we immediately would see in you. So I encourage you to try it out, and you will at least find one of those 2 image personas as a result.
Because I'm just looking, Sylvie, at Salma's comment in chat, and she was talking about some research that was done about knowing which authentic self you choose to show. And so it's not just about being yourself, it's about having this multitude and there being an authenticity paradox. And I think that kind of talks a little bit to what you've just been describing.
Mm-hmm. And as a leader, yeah, and sometimes people say, well, when I describe those 7 personas in my trainings, they say, well, I'm all of it a little bit, right? Then you have to be very careful, because then people don't know. That's a sign how to grasp you. And as we all know, what we like in leaders is when they are consistent, when we as team members know kind of what to expect and how to work with that person and how to be led by the leader. And if you're all over the place, you're not consistent and people are irritated. So there is at least you have 2, some carry 3 in them, but if it's more than 3, I would advise to think about that.
So maybe if we take this, up to sort of the leader founder kind of level, right? And so not existing in a context, but maybe more creating context, right? And setting the tone, setting the environment in an organization. What advice do you have for leaders in terms of how to create a more an inclusive environment, one where kind of unimportant aspects of appearance and presence are not overemphasized, right? How to create a as we might term it, a more human workplace that helps us get past some of the negative aspects of biology and where we've been.
Mhm. First, again, I would encourage you as a leader to recognize that you are biased. You are biased first, and work on your own biases first before you try to encourage your team to be unbiased, right? The worst that could happen to you is somebody coming back with examples where very clearly you as a leader have made very biased decisions in your leadership. The second thing is, I know that people think that those topics are superficial, but you need to be aware that you and your team have thousands of contact points every single day. And those contact points might be with internal clients or with external clients. And as a leader, it is your responsibility to develop a strategy with your team how those contact points should look like, feel like, how clients experience you when they listen to you, when they read from you. How do those contact points look like, right? And to develop a strategy, that ABCD model just helps, right? You can talk with them and your clients when you as a team want to be known for being trustworthy and offer trustworthy services. How does that look like? How does it behave like? How does that speak like? What I encourage you, though, again, more modern leadership is, in the past, we very often were focused with teams what we are not allowed to do. I would rather work with them what you could do to send those messages. The very traditional, again, dress code policies tells everybody what not to do. So what does the modern leader brain do? It looks for exceptions automatically, right? So how could I get past this rule when they say no tattoos? Does that mean no tattoos everywhere, or no tattoos just in my face, or if I put it on my neck, or what if I have a white tattoo? That's just how brains work, right? So I wouldn't even go there into the negative space. I would go into the positive space with them, define what you as a team want to be known for, how those contact points should look like, feel like, how your clients should experience you, and then look for options how you can transport that message within a blink of an eye.
So I'm hearing a lot about intentionality.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right, here, and to think about that impact, and I love the flip of, rather than looking at it as a bounding exercise, as one that is maybe more expansive, and what could you do, right? How are the ways that we can, as an organization, convey trust and reliability to our clients, or that we have expertise, right? What are the different ways that we can do that?
Also realizing that there is a layer of people you already work with, clients you already have, existing clients, for example, and obviously they can experience you differently because they already experienced your talents, your skills, your knowledge, the added value you brought to the table. But there is a layer of those people who didn't, who are just on the front door thinking about coming in or not, and possibly you don't even know that they are there because all they did was to Google your name. Every single day, millions of people Googling names of other people and make decisions in that bubble. So what do they find about you on the internet? The conscious and unconscious digital footprint that you have left behind, because that nowadays determines more if somebody walks into the door or not than what you're wearing at work.
Yeah, and I think you're just from a business standpoint. I remember a business trip to Malta, and we had a very strong recommendation to go to a small family restaurant for dinner. Was not down a street that my colleague and I probably would have walked as foreigners down. And like, okay, and the restaurant was kind of small, and maybe about 6 tables in the place, and it just didn't have a very impressive facade or anything. But we'd gotten this recommendation, so we went there, and we had one of the best meals of our lives. Some of the best service of our lives. I mean, it's something we still talk about, and this is 10 years ago. But again, that separating out the experience from bias, right? I've got bias about what streets ought to look like, what a restaurant ought to look like, how big it ought to be. Like, well, you can only fit like 6 tables. I mean, they're not really doing that big of a business, I guess. I mean, that's all my inherent bias to get through. And for us to think about as business leaders, yeah, we have some folks who, because of their experience of us, are going to have a different bias than people who are thinking about working with us, and what that might be.
Exactly.
I mean, the Neuro Leadership Institute says that if you've got a brain, you've got bias. So I think that it's uncomfortable, but it's true. And I guess once you know it, you can then start thinking about also, how do you want to work with that? How do you want to change that? I think, I guess it's a difficult topic, isn't it? Because although on the one side, be the best version of yourself is very positive, you're still fighting against everyone else's view about whether that's good enough or not. And like the surprising restaurant, there will be people in teams and organizations who are fabulous, who would make an amazing contribution, who may never be given the chance because they can't afford a jacket from the right place, or I don't know, they've just got bad skin that they've inherited from their great grandparents. And I think that's the difficult bit about this subject. That's the uncomfortable bit about it.
And that uncomfortable bit can be, to a certain part, managed with confidence, with self-confidence. Right? I tell you an example from myself, something that I thought will hold me back in my career. Was when I came here and decided to become a professional speaker. I mean, I'm not sure if you have noticed, but I have an accent.
Not until this moment, I did not realize.
Quite a wild one. You hear a Spanish grandmother, an Italian grandfather, a French father, and an Austrian mother. So I just obviously, somehow I vomit out words, however they sound, right? And I thought, I mean, professional speaking, that accent, not gonna work. And I was never, it always held me back. And then one day, when I lived in New York City, a political TV show called in and asked me if I would come to the studio and comment about the public persona of a politician back then who went for an office. And I did, and they invited me again and again and again, and it became kind of a regular part of this show. In the evening, when I watched myself on the TV, it was horrible, horrible. It was painful for me because there were all those well-spoken political experts who used so sophisticated words. And then there was this. Long story short, it was the holiday party I got invited. And I was sitting down with the producer, and in this very casual environment, or more casual environment, at one point I said to him, I don't understand why you always invite me. When I watch myself, and I shared with him exactly what I shared with you. And he said something I will never forget, probably the greatest gift anybody ever gave me in terms of my communication style. He said, that's the reason why we invite you. First, you sound like an international expert. And I thought, oh, interesting. And second, you say things so simple that every single viewer understands you, but they don't understand the others. I walked out with a boost of confidence and it was just gone. I mean, I have all my insecurities were gone. So I think that self-confidence, and I know it's difficult, and sometimes it takes somebody else to gift you with that feeling. And luckily, he gifted me, because I don't think I would have seen it this way myself, is the solution to many things.
That is so true. It's strange that it is so much more powerful than when it comes from outside. And then I think then, the leadership lesson is, so who can you impact today? Who can you give that gift to today? Who can you uplift today? And you probably have experienced it. I mean, I have. I've been really blessed to have some people disabuse me of negative notions of myself that I wouldn't have done myself. And so, yeah, to be able to turn that around and to give that gift, kind of lean into that. And I love the aspect of that story of really leaning into who you are, right? Which gets back to this theme of authenticity. If you tried to come off as an American, right, and have no accent and speak with really big words, you wouldn't have been back, right? It was because you were true to yourself, and had that authenticity that you had the value, right? And discovered that. And that's what I think the challenge for all of us is to try and figure out, so what is that truth of ourselves, and how can we lean into that?
Nice. That's a beautiful way to end. I don't know where the hour's gone by. It's gone by so quickly. It's been so fun.
Thank you.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Sylvie. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. And for those of you who are live today here, please know that there is a gift coming from Sylvie. Sylvie, maybe you can just give folks a sense of what they might be seeing in their inbox because they joined us today.
Yes. So if you wish, here's an invitation, an open invitation and a gift for you. Most of our first impressions nowadays we make in some sort of digital way. As you all know, virtual meetings have become a huge part of that. You are probably also still bound or have been bound to some sort of desk with a computer, meeting your colleagues, your team members, your clients virtually. So I developed a course about virtual presence, how to present yourself best possible in front of the camera from screen to screen. That includes the technical setup, but also your setup as a persona. It is a 10-day course. It works a little bit different because we always want to stand out, right, from the crowd than other courses. And if there is one thing you probably don't need at the moment, it's more screen time. Therefore, this course gets delivered to your cell phone. So throughout the course of 10 days, you get a text message every day in the morning with videos that explain a topic of the day. And I think the amazing thing on top is that you can text me back. So if you have any questions to that lesson or in general, at any time you can text me back and I give you a quick feedback. You can send me a picture of your setup or of your presentation. I can give you feedback. And since we want to gift those who joined us today, Amanda and Ken are going to send out a link and send out a coupon code. This is a $250 course that you can access it for free during the next weeks.
Wow. Thank you very much on behalf of all of our audience. Thank you so much for that. That is awesome. And let's pull ourselves together here. So next month,
Next month.
Next month, April 28th, we're going to be back and talk with Dave Milner about an HR view of human leadership. And I'm looking forward to that conversation. If you want to reach out to Amanda or I in the meanwhile, you certainly can connect with us via LinkedIn. Please join the Leaders in Conversation LinkedIn group. Be great to see you there and continue the conversation. And Sylvie, where would you like to direct people who'd like to find out more about you and be able to stay in touch? Besides the great course you're going to send them, is there a place you'd like to direct folks?
Yes. So my website, you have it from the link with the quiz. Just delete the quiz at the end, then you end up on my website. And if you don't find me on the internet, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you look, then you probably don't have internet, because I try to be everywhere. You're going to find me, I promise. You also will have my cell phone number when you sign up to that course. If you have any questions at any given time, please always reach out to me.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Sylvie. Again, this was an awesome conversation. Thank you for your generosity. And to everyone else, we will see you back here again on April 28th. So take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.